100k here from We Gamers with a little step-by-step guide of how to paint Chaos Cultists quick. Because I've been told I can paint quick, so this is kind of a guide of how I do that. So these lads here are all ex-PDF. That's the theme behind them, and that's something that I would suggest knowing before you start. If you want to paint quick, have an idea of what you're wanting to do and stick to it. So these guys are all ex-PDF, so they all have standard grey BDUs issued by the Imperial Guard and green armour, and they are in different levels of taint. So some of them are full blown chaos, some of them are still kind of Imperial Guard looking. And this is how I did it. So spray them all grey. Halford's classic primer. It's cheap, it's wonderful. It basically is my base coat for most things. Spray them all grey. Make sure they've got good coverage, and then get stuck into them. So black, straight up Vallejo black. All their boots, all the belts, all the gimp masks, you know, chaos, they love it. Anything you want black, do the black. It takes a bit of time, but you know, you want them all uniform looking. Once you've got the black on, you want to pick your chaos color. So if you were doing these Nurgle, probably a green. Zinch, probably a blue. For me, I didn't want them associated with any chaos god. These are undivided, so I took Karn red and I took Rhinox hide and I mixed them together, mostly red with a little bit of Rhinox hide to get this maroon color, this kind of deep crimson maroon, and slapped it on them. So at this stage you're basically doing hoods, their shawls, all that. Couple of them don't have much of clothing to cover red. So for the Imperial Guard guys, like this lad and this lad, they are essentially Imperial Guards with head changes. So Imperial Guards usually have things on their shoulders, their units or their Aquila type of thing on there. All I've done is taken that same red and blotched it over like it's a rough, quick paint job that they've done themselves to blotch out their unit markings. These two butcher looking fellows, well, one of them has a flamethrower, so his backpack's red, happy days. He doesn't have anywhere I could do red except for the mask, so I put it onto his face and it works fine. So once you've got your reds in, you're going then for skins. Skin tones I used was Kislev Flesh and Paladin Witch Flesh, and a little bit of a browner color for some darker skinned fellows. You don't want them all to be the same skin tone. It looks weird. People just don't have the same skin tone in mass groups. So yeah, all hands, faces, arms, wherever you can see flesh, painted in. The darker flesh was Kislev Flesh and Rhinox hide. Rhinox hide, I swear by, it's great for a lot of colors to bring it down in darkness. It's not as dark as black, obviously. It's just a really good brown for bringing base tones down. It would remind you of the old bestial brown type of thing. I think it's even darker than bestial brown. Scorch brown, maybe? Can't remember. Anyway, so use it to make different flesh tones. So like him, it's bestial brown, or bestial brown. What is this, 1997? Rhinox hide and Kislev. This guy's Paladin Witch Flesh. This guy here is yellow and Paladin Witch Flesh to give him a jaundiced look because he is really ill. And yeah, that's pretty much all the flesh tones in all different patterns. Again, it's simply mix up whatever color of flesh you're wanting, put it on 3 or 4 of them, then change it out for another one, do a couple more, and keep doing that until all their fleshes are done. This lad here is blue. We'll come back to him. He's a bit special. Once you've got that done, you should then have pretty much most of the model covered. We're going to go with Zandari Dust next and put that onto some of the wraps they've got. So some of them have it around their wrist. This guy's got a mace. Put that around some of their bandages and such. Then after you've done that, it's Rhinox hide and straight up do webbing. So some of them will have Ammo packs. This guy here has a big backpack. It's just straight up Rhinox hide. And again, cover all the miniatures with that. I also went with piping as black. They've just got black piping. Any of them that have weird pipes going into their mouths and such. Okay, so once you've got all that done, really all that's left to do is the metallics. At this stage, we're going to do one of the first things I always do to cheat, as it would be called. Now, I don't paint these to be display. I paint these for tabletop, so they look decent on the tabletop. So, what we do is we take, let me see, Zendari dust. I've got it written down. Zendari dust, white scar, and water in equal parts. So, third of each. You make this weird milky kind of cream. You then dry brush that on, and you dry brush all of the miniatures. Kind of a lightish dry brush. You kind of keep it going the same way. So back and forth across the model. Trying to just pick out the raised areas on all the models. Once you've got that done, you do your metals. Metal for me was lead belcher, bulk on metal. So lead belch, all of it. Every metal part. Once you've got the lead belcher on, to break up some of the metals. For example, this guy with these giant nuts on the top of this bar. I went with Balthazar Gold, which is not gold, it's copper. But hey ho. And for example, this guy's bullets with this poorly made magazine that I very quickly kit bashed. And I think some of them have drum mags, which have a little bit of it on. And just break up the metals as best you can. Once that's done, you get to the wash stage. So washing is fairly simple on these anyway, but it's the same effect for everything. Anything that's red or clove looking that's not grey, so all their skin, all of the red parts, anything that's leather gets Agrat's Earthshade. Anything that's black or grey gets Nuln Oil. The only thing that you would do that would be also only other thing that you would do which would be Nuln Oil would be the Paladin Witch Flesh guys, because unless you want them to have a weird kind of dirty skin look, the Nuln Oil works better on the Paladin Witch Flesh. So you've got your two washes on and they're looking pretty decent. They've got their guns, which are also Nuln Oil. You could stop there and that would be them done, but we're not going to stop there. Basically the last hour and a half or so of painting them is just going in and picking out highlights and such. So specialty lads. So Mr. Bluebody here. Mr. Bluebody has grey sear as his undercoat on his flesh, and then a 50-50 mix of Drakenhof Nightshade and water to give him a mutated blue look across all of his skin. This lad here, again, grey sear for the big mutated arm, and then it's straight up contrast paint of voluptuous pink. Now, contrast paint is a great thing. It's a tool in your arsenal. It is not to paint entire minis with. They don't look great, I find. But for random things, little bits of helping out, it's great stuff. So his arm is literally one coat of voluptuous pink, and then a few little details added. So that gets that done. While you're also doing that, you're taking things like the really pale guys, like this lad, and you're going back in and picking out the raised parts. So you see his muscles, top of his bald head, is picked out with the Paladin Witch Flesh again to bring it back up. Once you've got that done, you go in, you pick out the other guys, darker fleshes, just picking out fingers and brows of noses and such like him. Just bring it out where the light would hit it. You go in and you hit up all your metals again. You want to keep the recesses dark where the Nuln Oil's rested. So you're going in with the lead belcher, touching it up where you want, and then on top of that, I went with Stormhost Silver to really bring out some of the edging on it. Not a massive amount. For example, if you look at this fellow's gun, a lot of it's kind of dark, but you'll see like the muzzle flash and the very tips of the edges of the gun are quite prominent, and that's literally just a little line highlight of Stormhost Silver. Not a lot to go on. Once that's done, you can pretty much call them there. The last thing I went in with was Blood for the Blood God. Well, the second last thing was Blood for the Blood God. And it's really just to make things stand out. So where they've self-mutilated, dare I say, for example, Mr. Bluebody here, he has, if we get into focus, this undivided star thing on his shoulder, which is cut into himself. So does his buddy here. This guy who's wearing a skin mask, just where the stitching is, a little bit of dried in blood. This guy here, if you put on the Blood for the Blood God, but then give it maybe 2 coats, and you're really just dabbing it around the shoulder, it looks where it's quite raw and fleshy, where it's basically just sprung out of his arm and became this mutated horror. This lad here, who's really ill, is throwing up the blood, and again, it's just kind of being careful where you dab it on. So it's coming out of his nose and his mouth, and it's dripping down his chin and under his armor. These fellows here, if you take Blood for the Blood God and you mix it with water, and you dab it on, and you put it on quite wet, more water than there is actually Blood for the Blood God, you get this really cool wet blood look. And because they've got butcher aprons on, or I see it as butcher aprons in real life, they don't dry. Essentially, they're meant to be wiped clean plastics. So, yeah, I don't know what them boys have been doing, but it's not nice. But it gives a great look. Once that was done, the last thing I did was really, well, 2 last things, sorry. The end of his flamethrower, I did the classic Drucky Violet, Drakenhof, Nightshade, and Reekland Flesh to give that really warped metal, heated metal look at the end of his flamethrower. And this guy, Grey Seer, at the very end, his hands and his head, the horns are already done. And the horns are Zandari Dust, Balahor Brown, and Balahor Brown mixed with Paladin Witch Flesh. That's it, and dry brushed, just to pick them out. His head, his hands are Grey Seer, and then contrast red. And if we focus, gives a really nice fleshy red skin tone. If you're wanting to look, well, wanting guardsmen to look like wee devils. Last thing after that, again, another last thing, is eyes. And there's very few eyes on these people, so it's literally just, I always do my eyes the same, which is make sure they're dark in the recesses, so you've got null oil or something in there, and then Paladin Witch Flesh, and then a dot of white scar, and then a dot of black. And that was it, really. Other eyes are the lenses. The lenses are simply Stormhost Silver dotted in, and then Waystone Green dotted in, and it gives a nice, like, SAS style green lens. Anything that was the bronze color, the Balthazar Gold, you can touch those with a paint called Skycorex or Skycorex Bronze. It's a lighter bronze by Games Workshop, and you touch that and it gives a nice little highlight to the bronze colors. His face mask, for example, is hit with it. Focus, there you go. And yeah, that is how I did it. About 6 hours. Now they're not based, because I usually paint a lot of minis until I have about 30 of them, and then I sit with PVA, and it's watered down PVA around the bases. All of my kill teams are done in black sand that I got. It's aquarium black sand or something like that, and they'll all be hit up with the aquarium black sand. So you know how to base. It's the easiest basing that you can do. There's no real finesse to my basing, unfortunately. But yeah, that was them. There's all the paints that I used, mostly. Yeah, pretty much all of them. And yeah, they look all right. I think they'll do. But yeah, anyone can do it. It's 6 hours. It was yesterday afternoon. Can't go out, can't do anything. So we'll get something done. And that's what I did. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps. And yeah, have a plan, stick to it, and do that dry brush of the cream before you wash. And it's essentially a very quick cheat. Thanks for watching. Bye.